Ministers Buhari should sack has been trending on social media, giving people the opportunity to assess various sectors and basically look at leadership across a board. On this special, we are talking about these ministers Buhari should sack, basically assessing their capability in the past 3-4 years, leave the first year, and then how well have they done, and really, which ministers should Buhari sack? And to have that conversation right here in the studio, I have a journalist sitting just right next to me in the person of Edith Yeson. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And we have the very popular activist, of course, in the person of Aisha Yesufu. Welcome. This is right up your alley. This is trending on social media, so that will be great to have you talk about it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Maureen Kabruku, who's an entrepreneur. This is wonderful because the economy affects you extremely. Welcome. Okay, so let's go straight to it. A lot of ministers have been popping up, but let's look at your individual preferences, or rather the individual sectors you believe the ministers really haven't functioned well. Let's start with you, Maureen. You're an entrepreneur. What do you think?
Permit me to laugh, I'm sorry. When I saw that hashtag yesterday, I was just like, as far as I'm concerned, starting from the president himself and the entire ministers he's got, they should go. They should all be sacked, None of them deserves to be in any position that they're holding today.
Why?
Because they have failed woefully. I can barely mention like maybe 5 to 10 ministers that I know, and I'm sure we have about 30 of them or more than that.
36 as a matter of fact.
You see 36, and I barely know 1% of, or maybe 2% of just that number. So starting from the president to every other person, to every appointee of the president deserves to be sacked.
Interesting.
Yes.
And it's quite an interesting thing that a lot of people don't even know these ministers. So it tells you to an extent at which they have affected our lives. The fact that most people don't even know who these ministers are. Aisha,
Nigeria is in coma and on life support. So there's nothing happening. So when I totally agree with what she has said. First of all, the president needs to sack himself. Then second of all, he will sack the minister of petroleum. And we know who the minister of petroleum is.
So start with sacking himself as the president, then the minister of petroleum, which of course.
And then if we really want things to go, because really there hasn't been any government in the last almost 4 years. Nigeria has just been there, and things are just going on absolutely not the way it should. For example, even if we look at the Minister of Defense, where is he from? His state, I'm sure he can't go to his state without, of course, putting in that extra security. People are being killed every day in the state. Nothing is happening. Every sector of the economy, it's on and out of the way. So who are we going to start from? I mean, it's just like, the thing is that, for example, we Nigerians, we love to major in the minor. We see what the issues are. Instead of us to take on the issues, we begin to. So I think it's our coping mechanism. We are in an abusive relationship with our government and our nation. So for us to be able to cope, we just look for things that we can feel as if we are doing something. Meanwhile, we are busy doing nothing. Our mates are out there coming out together and ensuring that governance, good governance, they get it. But we are here trading hashtags that are not.
And when you say your mates, we're talking about Sudan, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, right now, Sudan, as a matter of fact, it's actually women that are championing this particular uprising in Sudan, and they'll be sitting there even as we speak, demanding better governance. I mean, Edith, you are a journalist. Let's talk about Abuja. One of the ministers who had really been trending is the minister for the FCT. A lot of people have criticized his handling, at least where we are right now. Your assessment of him?
Well, just 2 days ago, I put up something on my wall, and I said, when countries talk about their citizens suffering, and then there comes a stage when you say, we're going through post-traumatic stress disorder, right? But we are in such an abusive relationship that we are in continuous traumatic stress disorder. Whoa. We are continuously having to cope with traumatic stress, robberies, kidnappings. If you want to jump into a cab in the federal capital, you have to look really hard. Even if it is Uber, you have to have all your senses alert. You don't know, there's no safe place in Abuja. The street lights are not working, which encourages crime. I know so many people that have been robbed in the past 2 years, some twice. You park to make a phone call, you're robbed. I don't stop at traffic lights once it's past 7 p.m. because someone tried to carjack me while I was at a red light. So I deal with trauma every day. And when I'm driving out, I'm expecting something traumatizing
to happen, which is a horrible way to live.
Which is a horrible way to live. It didn't used to be like this. So how did we get here? And what are the coping mechanisms? We're all just, as she said, we just have to take it on. And some of these hashtags are some of the things that we're using to deal with because we're feeling so helpless. Because really, what can you do about who becomes the minister of the FCT or who becomes the minister of education, for instance?
Because what is interesting is the fact that, you know, we are going to have new ministers appointed in the next few months. And everybody, hopefully in the next few months, we know how long it took to even bring these ministers in. So we're anticipating that this time the president has got his act together and he will appoint them sooner than later. But then with these ones who have performed, it is almost as if there is nothing to look forward to as you move on to the next set. Hopefully, if he does things right this first time. So, number one on the list is Mansour Mohammed Danali, who's the defense minister. You say, no way he's working. And of course, FCT has come up. I mean, Mohammed Bello. Interestingly, he's trending at number one as the minister. A lot of people want him gone. Let us talk about the Agric minister. Well, most people don't remember him in terms of Agric minister. It's more like Pizzagate at the moment. I mean, let's even look at that conversation. At that, it sounds funny. But the Agric minister is saying that Nigerians import pizza from the UK. Is that even the conversation that should be had? And what should he have been doing? I mean, let me start again with you, Maureen. You're an entrepreneur.
You know, this is where, you know, I get frustrated every time, you know, I watch Mr. Audu, or is it Chief Audu, we speak, you know, as the Agric minister. My business is fruit-based, fruit and vegetable-based.
So this is right up your alley.
So I know, you know, I sometimes when I'm chatting with my friends, I tell them I deal with farmers directly. Some days ago, I ordered for onions all the way from Sokoto because they grow onions a lot. The business has taught me where to source my items from, so I know where to get the best stuff and at a cheap price, even though it comes at a price also, because cost of transportation isn't easy, and the transportation network is non-existent. So we are left to have to find ways. It's not just enough for you to buy these things cheap at the source. How do you get them to your location is another headache entirely. Then you watch a minister whose primary responsibility is how to make the ease of these goods getting to out of the farms. Poor farmers who go to farm every year, year in, year out, and don't get anything for their produce, because at the end of the day, more than 80% would waste because there are no good roads to transport them. Just to bring onions from Sokoto to Abuja, the vehicle left on Saturday due to the insecurity in that access. We didn't get that onions until Wednesday morning. Because he kept saying the routes he had to use to escape, to do this, to that. It cost me 3 times the amount that because no car was ready to, you know, take that produce all the way to bring for me to Abuja. So the one who risked it, and because I had paid for it already, if I don't get it down here, it's going to go bad. Exactly. And I lose money because no one is going to give me my money back. I have already ordered for the product and it's been taken to the park where the vehicle that should bring my item is already, you know, nothing is there. So same thing is happening to so many other entrepreneurs. We don't have power. We are, like I said, we're a fresh produce business. So imagine we need constant power to ensure that these goods are kept in the form, you know, and in the
that people will buy them.
Absolutely, you know, they have to be like, you know, top quality. Then already they've gone through a lot of stress on the road getting to you. So by the time the goods get to you, half of it is already bad. You've already lost half of your money, and then you're now trying to ensure that you preserve the remaining half that you've got. So you have a minister who just sits down and he's obsessed. This is the same minister who wanted to import grass from Brazil for cattle when they were talking about cattle colonies.
Exactly.
Before Nigerians rose up against such a thing. This is the same minister who is not interested in knowing what the critical problems of farmers are. The farmers I deal with, just even, for example, Abuja here, A lot of them are no longer going to their farms. Ask me why.
Insecurity.
For some time, there's some invoices that I don't get to see, and when I make the call, or sometimes I even forget to even reach out to them to find out, oh, I no longer see your invoices, what's going on? Then maybe after a while they turn up. Then I ask, what happened to you guys? And they go, oh, madam, you just don't want to know. You know, insecurity, herdsmen have taken us away from our farms. Some even get kidnapped. You know, one of the farms, you know, she brought in an expatriate from Switzerland to set up a young lady who is doing so well. For over a year, she couldn't go to her farm because she had to use all the money she saved to save an expatriate whom she brought from Switzerland that was kidnapped. And the driver was killed along Kuje Road. This Kuje in Abuja here. I have another supplier that comes from Taraba. They bring their produce from Taraba. 3 times their drivers were shot dead. 3 times from Taraba to Abuja. 3 times. So this, you know, when you hear their issues, you can't help but weep when you see the clowns that we have as ministers who have no clue whatsoever as to what their responsibility is. We have a farm, some other guy who owns a farm in southern Kaduna. He's a former director of SSS. He tells me he goes to his farm at night. And let me tell you what he goes there to do. He doesn't go there to harvest. He goes there to pick the things that have fallen on the ground. That's where they go quickly, you know, pack what they can find, and then run out of the farm, and then try and sell just so he can pay his bills.
That's a complete loss.
Yes.
A complete loss.
Yes, we lost one mad lion, some Zimbabwean guy that knew this country so well. He was into agriculture. We lost him. We lost him to insecurity in this country. Then the minister sits down and he's obsessed whether Nigerians are bringing pizza from, you know, sometimes I just see that, you know, these people just take us for granted, and I don't blame them. I blame we the citizens who have given them this opportunity.
I mean, you have touched so many ministers in just this narration. You've even touched Rotimi Amechi when it comes to transportation, because that's a big issue. You've touched power, which is Babatunde Fashola, who's a former governor of Lagos State. Let's even talk about power, because you have opened the Pandora's box for all intents and purposes. That's just agriculture. Power is the biggest issue. It just started raining, and many parts of the FCT are out because poles fell, transformers have issues, there are stories, and this is just the FCT go around Nigeria. It's a big issue. And then we have heard someone who even said there are places in this country that have 24-hour power supply, which we as journalists are really working hard to find those places. I don't know, have you found those places yet?
I have not.
Well, we will keep trying to find them. Aisha, let's talk about power in this regard. What needs to be done?
What needs to be done? I mean, what needs to be done, we are not willing to do it. It's to sack everybody on this thing. And the president is willing to do that. That would be fantastic. Sack himself, sack every other person. Look for competent people. Let them run the whole thing. One of the things that I've seen, honestly, and I'm being very honest in my opinion, is the fact that everything that seems to be associated with President Muhammadu Buhari seems to depreciate. I mean, Babatunde Fashola, he was one of those people that Nigerians had hope in, and there were quite a number of them. But the moment they became affiliated with the president, we just saw everything unravel. That's to say to you, leadership is everything. You cannot have a leader who is not leading and expect things to work. No, the leader is the head of the team, and based on his directives, and based on what we saw a time where a minister came out to shout to say that they don't have access to the president. They can't see the president. A minister that cannot see the president, what are you? Is that one minister? No, they don't feel call a minister now. He just the character go and down. That's just the way it is. So when I came out and I said the president should resign, I did a video. Nigerians wanted to kill me. Oh, why would you say the president when he was sick and all of that? I said this acting president thing is not working. People were not. At the end of the day, we saw it. The letter he wrote, even though we had an acting president, the minister couldn't give it to him because he knew that he was just there, was a figurehead. And even he came out to cry that he can't see. When ministers don't have access to the president, then how is the president keeping tab on what is going on? How does he know what people are doing? Power right now, they say we are about 3,000 plus megawatts. That's what we are running on 190 human beings. Then when people are talking, we are 190 million people, we'll be talking that we are a nation. Nigeria is a sovereign state. Is that how to be one? Everything is just practical. You don't even know where to address. Everything has gone down, and you know the funniest thing and the most annoying thing is that we have dropped the bar. the bar has gone more than 10 feet deep down. The bar we used to hold previous administrations, we seem not to be using it anymore. Every time they keep shifting the goalposts, the next thing, like, you begin to hear that, oh, you can't talk to the president. The president is like, is old enough to be your grandfather. You can't call him clueless, incompetent, inept, even though he is clueless, incompetent, inept, and the decisions and policies he's making are not only affecting you, they're affecting your children and the unborn generation. They say to you, you can't say all of that to him because he's old enough to be your grandfather. I didn't vote the president to be my grandfather. He's still on his marriage of 2015. When we voted for him to be a president, somebody that will be act from the front and be the leader that the nation needed. Right now, he has absolutely.
I mean, Edith, we're rounding this up. I mean, he has gotten a second mandate, whether we like it or not, at least as we speak. May 29th, he'll be taking his oath of office for the second time. And of course, we'll be doing away with his ministers and he'll be bringing new ones. Now, they have been debate that he will, of course, bring his loyalists or whatever it is. But in terms of getting people that will work, at least in these sectors, try at least if they can leave bureaucracy and try to work a little bit. What exactly should he be looking out for? And if you can say who and who, that's fine. Take it away.
Well, I don't see them. I don't see anybody I have confidence in that's within that caucus. That usually you would say, okay, pick and choose. Because, I mean, in 2015, yeah, there were a few that we were looking at. Fashola, but right now, whom are we looking at? You understand? The pool has gotten smaller, as far as I'm concerned. The pool around Mr. President has gotten smaller, and quality has greatly diminished. Because what we expected from 2015 has actually diminished. So I really don't know how it's going to happen. I really don't know, because instead of the poll getting wider, bigger, bringing in fresh blood, I see that there was a squeeze, and then a few people are still holding on tenaciously, cancerously onto this small caucus that is going to continue to rule this country going forward.
If there's a
and I don't see any chance of any fresh blood breaking through, because if there was a chance, it would have happened prior to the elections. You would have seen these new people popping up and saying, okay, these are the people that are running the show at the moment. But right now, it's shrunk. So I don't know where this new blood is going to come from, and I am not hopeful. Let's just say I'm not hopeful.
So obviously, for any significant difference or positive difference to happen, he has to look outside
of this pool.
Really,
and I haven't seen a bigger picture. You understand? I'm not seeing that big pool.
That's obviously a challenge to the president in this regard.
Can I just come in a little bit? I think you're making a very big, I don't know what kind of assumption. That's this assumption that the president is going to change ministers. Did he tell people he's changing anything? It's an assumption Nigerians are making. First of all, remember the president said that he is loyal to his those he has appointed, even when they do not obey him. That was when the IG of police, he sent the IG of police to go to Benue State to go and resume duty and take care of the crisis there. And that's the former IG of police, absconded, and he didn't stay. And when the president was told, he was like, And then the next thing he will tell us that he is loyal to them. So he is loyal to his incompetent team, because he likes incompetence around him. And then also, in 2015, it took the president 6 months to find the people that sat behind him during inauguration. The whole of that team, people like Amechi and they were all in the Eagle Square. They sat right behind him. It took 6 months for him to go and find them to bring him. Is it now? It might probably will take 4 years to be looking for.
We hope that doesn't happen, because obviously that will be running the country to the ground. Anyways, you have heard the conversation. Well, should I even ask which minister should Buhari start? Because of course my panelists are even saying the president should start with sucking with himself, which
education, health,
but obviously he has a second tenure, and that means he has a chance to do things better. So what should the president do better? In which aspects, in which ministries should the president pay attention and seek and bring in, beyond just party affiliations or his close caucus, his close knit of associates? Should he look out and get things right. Give us your comments on the comment section of this video. A big thank you to you, Edith.
Thank you.
Aisha and Maureen.
Thank
I wish
you.
you the best of luck in your business
Thank
in
you.
agriculture. It's a harrowing story that you just told, and I'm sure that's the same experience for a lot of people who are in different sectors, especially agriculture. Of course, you've been watching Roots TV Nigeria. My name is Gloria Oje Emode.